Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And as we all know, I do not do this program by myself. And today we have joining us from Bearing Arms, none other than Tom Knighton. Tom, how are we doing today?
Oh, we are fair to partly cloudy.
Excellent.
I want to go ahead and tell people apologize in advance if they catch me looking up. New desk that has adjusted the height and everything, so my webcam is down here instead of up here where it normally is, and I am confused.
Well, there you go. There you go. If you lived in California, you'd be confused all the time. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's okay because you know what today is, right?
What's
Today
that?
is hump day.
Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
That's right. Today is hump day. It's the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But as I like to say, the fun is all in the trying. And clearly, well, Mike has kicked off the week already. So he's kicked off his weekend. So it's working for him, evidently.
Way to go, Mike.
That's all right, though. It's good stuff. It gives me an opportunity to invite some good friends on to kind of chitty chat. And, you know, like Mike and I, we mostly do and like to talk. We mostly talk about gun stuff, but we love opportunities to get into and talk about other news. So, and I know the times that we've had a chance to hang out, we've had a chance to do that as well. So this should
Absolutely.
be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
You know,
absolutely. But before we do that, you know what we got to do, folks. You know we have to pay those bills. So we're going to start off with a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries, rifle and pistol caliber barrels at any length available for you to purchase. If you've purchased an AR recently, chances are you already have one of their barrels. So why not get another one? Right? Go there, check them out, hitmanindustries.net. Trust me, you will like what you see. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all level of government, from school board all the way up to president of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out today at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then we've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market. All you got to do is go to hogholsters.com. By the way, when you go there and you order your holster, make sure you use the discount code. It's just like it is right up there, The Rundown. All caps, one word, no spaces, and you're going to get a discount on The Rundown. Just go to hogholsters.com. That's helping Americans wear guns. And then finally, if you have a group, if you have a unit, if you have a department, if you're looking for group discounts on tactical gear, trust me, folks, there is no better place for you to go than uscombatgear.com. They've got a huge selection. They've got competitive prices, and they've got the best customer service out there. All you got to do is go to uscombatgear.com. Please make it a point. Go there. Check them out today. Once again, veteran owned and operated. Also want to encourage you, if you're watching the program live, 2 p.m. No, I'm sorry. I'm always messing that up. 2 p.m. 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Mike would always say it's just 6 p.m. because he only recognizes the Eastern Standard Time. So anyway, but if
yeah,
you're
there's a
watching us
reason for
live,
that.
yeah, there you go. If you're watching us live on YouTube, on Facebook, if you're watching us on Rumble or on Twitter, go ahead and comment, and we'll share. If we find the comments to be interesting, we'll share them with the audience. If we don't, well, we won't. Now, that interesting does not mean you have to agree, but if we disagree, we do reserve the right to mock you.
And I will take advantage of that. Just
We
fair
most
warning.
we have to, as Mike would say, we will mock you. Yeah, Mike has a way with those witticisms.
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
That is one way to put it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get into today's news. We're going to start with the president's big ideas, a number of his big fiscal issues, and that has to do with the big, beautiful bill, the big spending bill, the budget, as well as no tax on tips. Both are measures that are seeing some significant crossroads. We're going to start off, and we're going to start off with the tax bill, or as once again, as the president likes to call it, or as it's now actually officially named, the big beautiful tax bill. According to CNBC, and I wanted to use CNBC because I wanted to see you to see what other folks are saying about it, because you know how we feel about it. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that. But it says here, Trump tax bill faces fresh hurdles as holdouts meet with Trump at White House. It says here, House Republican leaders faced a last-minute revolt Wednesday by members of their party's hardline conservative faction who opposed their latest attempt to win support from moderate members of the conference for President Trump's big, beautiful tax bill. As a pivotal meeting between House Rules Committee enters its 16th hour after starting at 1 a.m., Speaker Mike Johnson's self-imposed Memorial Day deadline for passing the bill on the House floor looked more and more difficult to meet. Quote, "I don't think it can be done today. I mean, the runway is short today. The leadership is going to have to figure out, where to go from here," House Freedom Caucus Chair Andy Harris told reporters on Capitol Hill earlier today. Now, also, though, we had passed the Senate unexpectedly passing the No Tax on Tips Act. This is being reported by NBC. It says here, in a surprise move, the Republican-led Senate quickly passed the No Tax on Tips Act on Tuesday, giving its official stamp of approval on an idea that has gained traction since President Donald Trump campaigned on it last year. The legislation would create a tax deduction worth up to $25,000 for tips, limited to cash tips that workers report to employers for withholding purposes on payroll taxes. The tax break would also be restricted to employees who earn $160,000 or less in 2025, an amount that will rise with inflation in the coming years. Now, these are two very, very big these are two bills that are very, very big deals. And it's vitally important that we see that these things eventually become law. It's going to be very interesting to see what winds up happening in these particular cases. It's going to be interesting to see how. It's going to be interesting to see what, in the end, they wind up doing. Now, the spending bill is going to be interesting, largely because, well, you've got not just conservatives who are kind of holding out on it, but you've also got some moderates who are holding out on it as well. Because a lot of them are like, well, I'm kind of concerned about the whole, Medicare, or not Medicare, the whole Medicaid issue and how much we're looking at if we're going to wind up cutting Medicaid. There's some guys in purple districts who are concerned about Medicaid cuts. At the same time, you've also got folks on the conservative side who are just like, this bill doesn't do enough when it comes to cutting spending. I understand the guys in the moderate districts more because so many people are not dependent, but so many people many of whom shouldn't be, are on Medicaid or reliant on Medicaid in one way. I kind of get that. My issue with some of the spending hawks is I get what they're saying, but with a 2-vote majority in the House, what do they really expect in terms of significant reforms coming out of the House?
That's actually a good point because, I mean, it is a very narrow margin, and you've got to throw some bones to the Democrats. If you always run the risk of, say, a libertarian leaning, every budget's flawed, voting against it. You just can't bank on that. You need to have enough there to draw a little bit across the line. I don't like the fact that it adds to the debt, but realistically, what else are we going to do?
Well, right. And it's, one of the things that it does do is that slows down the decrease in spending. And I'll give you an example. I sit on a school board, right? And one of the things we've done over the years has been done a pretty effective job of keeping spending increases from going up. But right now, as we're getting less money, we find ourselves deficit spending. But that's also the reason why we've built up a 62% reserve in our school district, so that as we make cuts, we can make sure that those cuts are kept out of the classroom. Sometimes you can advance towards making cuts where you're spending less, but you can't necessarily get to a balanced budget like right now. And the real issue, quite frankly, here is, I mean, let's just be real. If we're really going to have a balanced budget, if we're ever going to get to a balanced budget, that's only going to happen when we actually go after entitlements. And when I say go after, I mean the sort of entitlement reform that is going to make them solvent now and into the future.
Yeah, and it's also going to involve some stuff none of us really want to talk about, because to a certain amount, you're going to have to raise taxes while cutting spending.
Well, I don't disagree. You know, I always talk about, like, I'm a big believer in the privatization of Social Security, but I also
Agreed.
realize we've made commitments to people who have contributed a lot of money into Social Security right now. So
Mhm.
the question is, how, you know, we have to meet the obligation to the people who are going to be actually still be on Social Security, people who are, in particular, those who are 50 years or older, while giving those who are younger the opportunity to take that money, instead of putting it into Social Security, putting it into a lockbox so it's there for them when they retire and they can pass it on to
Yeah.
their kids or to their spouse. Well, if they're not paying into Social Security, where's that money going to come from to take care of the obligations? Well, guess what? That's going to mean increased taxes on the rest of on everybody.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, we didn't get in this mess overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight, and it's going to cost all of us some money to get out of it.
It's going to hurt.
Yes.
I mean, there's no way around it. There's no painless way to make this country solvent.
No.
It's no different than your own finances. If you are massively in debt, you have a couple of things you can do. You can cut way back and redirect your money, or you can take on another job while taking on no new debt and pay it off. Well, as a country, we can't really do that because we're living on that debt. So we have got to cut how much, we got to cut to the bone where we can, take on new revenue where we can, and just keep it. It's going to suck. There's no way around it. And unfortunately, in America, we are very adverse to suckage. We
Well,
do not
yes,
embrace the suck.
I agree. And that's why one of the things that I think the president is trying to do is he's trying to make sure that we grow the economy, because to a certain degree,
Yeah.
what I think he wants to do is he wants to try and grow the economy out of it and then use that extra money that comes in from taxes to actually then help pay down the debt and then make the reductions. The problem with that is that you can't keep increasing spending while you're growing the economy, because
Right.
you're still digging the hole deeper. You
But
eventually got to get to
that's like buying a house and trying
right.
to pay it off with running one DoorDash order a week.
Right. Exactly. Eventually you got to dig in. You got to make some cuts other places. You got to increase your revenue by trying to find other streams of income. And once again, I think we can grow the economy, but there's only so much growing you can do. At the same time, if you're going to increase taxes in certain areas, or find new revenues, you've got to do it in such a way that it doesn't slow down the economy.
Yeah.
And
It's a weird balancing act that's going to be very, very difficult for any president to do.
right.
Trump is making a lot of positive steps. Doge finding all these places we can cut without impacting the average American was huge.
Well,
That needs to be codified.
it was huge. It was huge. And here's the other thing is that there's still, even in these sacred entitlements, there is some waste, fraud, and abuse that can be
Oh yeah.
addressed. Like, we have people who are not in this country legally, or people who are on Social Security who shouldn't be on Social Security. We have
Look,
people
those
who are collecting
vampires need
Social
that money.
Security disability because they're on drugs. I mean, if
Yeah.
we can just eliminate some of that stuff, which, for example, big part of that when they talk about the whole issue with Medicaid, Do you know one of the biggest ways in which they're going to save money in Medicaid is by requiring able-bodied people who are not parents of children, so able-bodied people who don't have children, to have a work requirement, meaning if you're able-bodied, you've got to work 20 hours a week, or you got to join a work program or volunteer. You got to be doing something for 20 hours a week,
Yep.
80 hours in a month. I'm sorry. Is that unreasonable?
I mean, I can't imagine not working at least 20 hours a week. There's been days I work 20 hours a day.
Yes. I
I've
see
had
how
those
many
days.
pieces you put up. I see how many interviews you do. I find that very easy to believe.
You know, I literally don't take time off for the most part, and except when I sleep, and so it's not it 20 hours. If that's all I had to do to get assistance, that's not a big deal. And what you're talking about volunteering. There's someone you can volunteer with. There's some
Exactly.
group out there that you believe in that you can volunteer. Obviously, it would need to fall within certain parameters. Otherwise, people are going to create nonprofits just so people can say they're volunteering there. But, there's someone you believe in enough that you can give them a few hours a day, a few days a week.
It ain't rocket science. It ain't rocket science. By the way, our good friend Mr. Patrick Collins over at the Gun Food, he said he wanted me to make sure that I tell you what's up.
Hey, hey, Patrick, how's it going, brother?
All right. All right. Speaking of guns, you have a story you wrote about basically how gun grabbers are freaking out over the recent ruling relating to or the recent decision relating to forced reset triggers. You want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah. First of all, we have to remember whenever anything happens positive for guns, the response is pretty much going to be the same. Oh my God, there's going to be blood in the streets. This isn't any different. They're basically calling force reset triggers machine guns. It's essentially legalizing machine guns. It's going to lead to massive death tolls and blah, blah, blah. And they forget these things were around before they were restricted and didn't lead to anything. They're not machine guns because, under the eyes of the law, it's very, very clear. A machine gun is defined by the National Firearms Act as a firearm that fires more than one round with a single pull of the trigger. Force reset triggers don't do that. Therefore, they're not machine guns, period. It doesn't matter how scary they are. We don't determine what is a machine gun by rate of fire. If so, even a revolver is a machine gun in Jerry Mitchell's hand. The man is not human, but he shows what a rate of fire can be in just about any firearm he puts his fingers on. But they're losing it about this, and the truth of the matter is, it doesn't change anything.
But that's what they do because they have to.
Yeah.
It's the fear mongering that takes place. There's a reason why they refer to violence involving firearms as a crisis.
Yeah.
Because see, the left has always believed that when there is a crisis, it is time for them to act. It allows them to do things that otherwise they would not be able to get away with. They know that people are going to scrutinize the things that they do. And in this case, I think you hit the nail right on the head. There is a legal definition as to what a machine gun is. And as much as anti-gunners hate to believe that, as much as they don't want to understand that, and they refuse to understand that, the law in statute, it defines it. And it's not based on the rate of fire. It's not based on how fast you shoot. It's based on a mechanical definition of what it does, of what the machinery of a firearm or what a firearm does. And if you want to make a change, if you want to change it, well, then you got to change that. Now,
Yeah.
as I was telling Mike earlier, I was like you said, Jerry's going to be getting a call talking about his trigger finger's been banned.
Right. But let's talk about alarmism for a minute. All right, this is a piece I did about a week or two back, and I've been referring to it constantly lately. And let's talk about, for example, school shootings. This is a massive crisis. They use that to justify every manner of gun control they can come up with, right? A kid in a public school is 200 times more likely to experience sexual misconduct by a teacher than experience a school shooting, right? This is anything from an off-color sexually charged remark to out and out rape. They are 8 times more likely to be raped by a teacher than to experience a school shooting. And when I say experience, I just mean be there in enough of a context to know what is going on.
So what you're saying is we're going to ban teachers in school.
I mean, it would do more for school safety than banning guns. But you ever notice that the American Federation of Teachers president Randy Weingarten, she will push gun control and she ignores every instance of sexual misconduct by a teacher. Again, that happens at 200 times the rate of school shootings.
Funny how that works, huh? Definitely
Yep.
funny how that works.
Yeah, I've been beating that statistic left and right because I think it sums up the alarmism.
Well, I will just tell you right now, I will, the first time I use it, I will definitely credit you. And after that, I own it.
Fair enough. Look, I just want that word out. I just want those numbers out there for people because it's mind boggling when I looked it up and compared them. And I'm like, holy crap.
Hey, facts are a terrible thing.
Yeah.
To liberals, that is.
Right.
By the way, speaking of facts, now we talked about the funny part about this whole, the California's $20 an hour minimum wage for fast food workers. Republicans, conservatives, business leaders across the country were talking about what would happen if this were passed. They talked about prices going up. They talk about people getting less work, people getting fired in that industry. We talked about the kiosks coming in and talk about people being replaced by machinery. And liberals they went out of their way to say, no, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And well, guess what? Yeah, you're right. It happened. This being reported by the California Globe. California's $20 wage law cost restaurant workers 7 weeks worth of work. The loss represents up to $4,000 in lost potential income. The Employment Policy Institute just released new data showing AB 1228, California's $20 wage law for fast food workers, cost non-tipped restaurant workers 250 hours of work annually, equating to up to 7 weeks of lost work, up to $4,000 of potential income. Now, Tom, I once again, I know this should be really, really shocking news, but it's not.
No. There is one way around this. You could be Panera.
Oh, there you go. You gotta be Gavin Newsom's boy.
Right. You could get around all that by being Panera. Yeah, but like you said, we all told them this was going to happen. This was obviously going to happen. It was always going to happen because the problem is liberals, especially California liberals, apparently don't understand that businesses aren't the government. They can't just vote themselves more money. They can't take on infinite debt to pay for whatever mandate. That money's got to come from somewhere. And, if I've got to pay someone $20 an hour instead of whatever it was before, then was it 15? That money's got to come from somewhere. And the easiest place to do that is to just cut the work, just ask more from the staff that's on duty at a given time. And they should provide more because they're getting paid $20 a freaking hour. I worked fast food. My first job was fast food. I got paid $5.15 an hour. Wow. And I worked my ass off.
You got paid big money because my first job was also in fast food, and I got paid $3.25 an hour.
I came in right after the minimum wage went to $5.15. But yeah, I mean, it's just 4 times. They're getting paid 4 times for the exact same job.
Right.
Nothing. There's been no quantum leaps in
E-
fast food industry that would justify the technical know-how,
Every single time they get my order wrong, all I can think of is,
right?
and you want more money.
Yeah. And
I
I'm
just
like,
think it gets me. But the thing they failed. This is what liberals govern based on the world as they wish it was, not on the way in which it is. Right?
mm,
They don't understand that when you increase by the way, the most expensive part of any business is the labor.
yeah,
Most businesses, labor is the number one investment that they have. That's overwhelming number of businesses. When you increase the bottom line, because here's the deal, you had managers earning $20 an hour. Well, guess what? Now that the employees are earning $20 an hour, you got to raise the managers. And if you raise the manager's wage, now you got to raise the regional manager. So
yeah.
everyone now is earning more money. It means you're also paying more in what you also have a lot more money in terms of withholdings, whether it be for unemployment tax, social security, all of these various different things. Now, when you increase that wage, some of that some of that they're going to add on to the price of the product. Some of that they're going to try and find other cost cutting measures. Some of that they're going to cost by reducing hours. So someone may have had a $15 an hour job and they had benefits. Well, guess what? Now they got a $20 an hour job and they don't have benefits. And oh, by the way, they got $20 an hour. And instead of 10 people working now, there's only 7 people working now. And they're doing
Yep.
the work of 10 people.
Well, and there's also this myth of the hardworking fast food worker trying to support a family on his fast food wages. And I'm not going to say those people don't exist at all, but generally you have three kinds of fast food workers. You've got the snot-nosed teenager getting his first job who really just needs a paycheck to learn responsibility.
Right.
You've got the guy who, or gal who has, gotten kind of knocked back a rung, but this is just a stopping point on their way back up, somewhere. And then you've got the lifelong fast food worker. These people are generally, because I've worked with them, lazy, stupid, or poorly motivated to do anything else. And at a certain point, when you can just keep mandating they get more money, there's no reason for them to put forth any effort.
Yeah. No,
These are
those,
not, these are
yeah.
starter jobs.
Now you just hit the exact point I was supposed to make. This is where you learn how to have a job, right? You learn how to
Right.
follow orders. You learn how to show up on time. You learn those various things. You learn those basic skills, and then you take those basic skills. You learn customer service. You learn how to interact with others, and you take that, and then you add that. You take those skills, and then you take them to the next job that pays you more money. That's what I did. I worked in
Yes. Well,
fast food. I became an assistant manager, and eventually I got to a point where they weren't going to give me any more money. So I got a better job paying more money elsewhere. This is not a career job unless you're going to move up within the fast food industry. And if you're moving
and,
up in the fast food industry and you're still earning minimum wage, all I can say is you've made some very poor choices in your life.
and really, based on a lot of people's testimony, working fast food jobs themselves, if you're still there at 6 months and you're not making above minimum wage, you need to do some self-evaluation because you're a crap employee.
Well, exactly. I know I worked there, and once again, this was easily, 35, almost 40 years ago. At 3 months, you got an evaluation and you got a raise.
Mhm.
3 months after
Yeah,
that, you got another evaluation and a raise.
right.
It wasn't that hard because the idea was they wanted to motivate you to do better and be more. Within 6 months, I was 16. And within 6 months, I was an assistant manager.
Right. It's anybody in that industry, especially with any kind of drive,
Right.
isn't going to be relegated to a lifetime of minimum wage where they're trying to support a family on just that income.
Well, they shouldn't be. And by the way, if you are a head of household, and once again, if you are a head of household earning money, and by the way, that's a very small percentage of the people that are actually in some of these minimum wage jobs. But if that's who you are, once again, I'll just say this: you've made some very poor choices. And
Yeah.
as some of my favorite talk show hosts, Armstrong and Getty, they have a T-shirt here in California. They have a T-shirt that says "Stupid should hurt," and
Yep.
that's a life lesson, right? That's a life lesson, meaning nobody owes you anything. You owe yourself.
Well, stupid, unfortunately, is a lot like being dead. You don't seem to realize it, but it hurts everybody else in your life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good point. Good point. All right. Finally, our last story today has to do with the Biden administration. And once again, this is something I wish I could once again say that this was something that we didn't know, but this is definitely something that we most definitely knew. And it has to do with the Biden administration and their knowledge about the side effects from the COVID vaccine. And that's right. The Biden administration knew that there were side effects. They knew that there were risks with taking it, and they ignored it anyway. This being reported by the New York Post. Biden officials knew about the potential COVID-19 vaccine risks and took steps to downplay them in a scathing Senate report. Top federal health officials actively took steps to delay warning the public for months in 2021 about the potential risks of heart related complications from receiving the mRNA COVID 19 vaccines, a scathing interim report from Senator Ron Johnson's office alleges. Starting in February 2021, federal health agencies had been alerted to quote large reports of myocarditis in young people who have received the Pfizer vaccine, but waited till late June that year to adjust the vaccine label to make the side effect known. Quote, even though CDC and FDA officials were well aware of the risk of myocarditis following COVID-19 vaccination, the Biden administration opted to withhold issuing a formal warning to the public for months about the safety concerns jeopardizing the health of young Americans, the 54-page interim report said. Now, even worse than this, because even once they finally started admitting that or putting on warning labels, they were still actively going to social media companies and encouraging them and getting them to, if anybody said anything about myocarditis or said anything about risks of vaccines, they still were working and fighting to get their accounts shut down. Like I said, we lost the rundown, lost our YouTube channel over it because, well, the final straw broke the camel back was Mike saying COVID with a K is fake, but that's neither here nor there. But
That sounds like Mike.
doesn't that sound like Mike?
It does.
Anyway, but the reality is that they went out of their way to lie about it to the degree that even now there are still many on the left, many who will still look at you and say, why are you an anti-vaxxer? It's like, no, I think acknowledging the risk, the actual risk of something is not a bad thing. It should
Exactly.
be part of the decisions that we implement, that we incorporate when making a decision as to whether or not to take the vaccine.
I'm just absolutely shocked that the Biden administration would hide information related to healthcare.
Oh, well, healthcare that's
That's un
not his own healthcare.
Well, it's still close enough for me, I mean, it's it's like, could you lie about something else for a change, man? Just break it up. I'm waiting for something new that has nothing to do with healthcare in general.
Well, now we
You
we
know.
also we also know that they lied about the jobs that they created.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that there is that.
yeah, they
I,
every
give them credit for shaking it up. Way to go, guys.
they get credit. They
Way to
definitely get some
branch
credit for
out.
shaking it up.
Yeah, I
But
like creativity.
it's ridiculous, man. It is. I mean, what gets me about it is this: is that they are also then the first ones to accuse Donald Trump of lying. I mean, they're the first ones to say Donald Trump's a liar. Donald Trump's a liar. I'm like this: Donald Trump may be an exaggerator.
Yeah,
I don't know that. I mean, I'm not saying he's never lied. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's never lied. But most of the things that they label as lies are more exaggerations. It's him kind of
or trolls.
right or trolls. There you go. That's another
Yeah,
one. It's literally him just knowing that they're gonna lose their minds over whatever he
yeah,
says.
yeah, and it's like you say, it's exaggerations, everything. What's going on is there's more projection than an IMAX theater chain going on. Because I mean, that's what it is. It's like, well, of course Trump's lying because that's what we do.
Oh,
And
yeah.
everything I see from liberals lately that they're taking issue with is stuff they do repeatedly. They do it all the time. And it's only a problem if someone else does it.
There you go.
They're like, let's look at immigration. They're all upset about due process. You bitches have been pushing red flag laws for years. Shut the hell up.
Oh, yeah,
You don't care
no
about
due
due
process there.
process.
Well,
You don't care.
let's just keep it in terms of immigration. Barack Obama deported 3 million people. 80% of them never went before a judge.
Yeah. Again, that was fine.
Right.
Well, let's remember Trump's first term. It was like, oh my God, they're separating families. Obama did the same thing. And it's when you lock up adults, you don't lock children up with them.
Wait, no, here's the funny part. They're putting children in cages. Yeah, they're putting them in the cages that Obama built for them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's, and both sides, to a certain degree, both sides do this. There are blinders that when my guys do it, it's good and just. When their guys do it, it is evil. And
Well,
there's a certain amount of that that's just inherent in politics.
I always when the vaccine first came out and people, the conservative, when Republicans became very anti-vax, and I was very much like, look, I just want to have accurate information so I can make a choice. I don't want to mandate, right?
Yeah.
But they were just completely like, you're stupid if you take the vaccine, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, you mean the Donald Trump vaccine?
Yeah. Well, and on the same token, liberals were, I'm not taking that vaccine. I'm not taking that vaccine. Biden steps in office and suddenly the vaccine is magical.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it was hilarious to watch that flip.
Right. It's like, why can't we just make decisions based on the facts? Why can't you just look at it and say, okay, this is a good decision, this is a bad decision? And
well, we have to remember, man is not a rational creature. Man is a rationalizing creature.
Well, there you go.
And that's what happens.
I always say that. I said, when you buy something, buying is an emotional decision. You rationalize it, you find facts, data, and information to support it, but trust me, you're buying that because you want it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You've convinced yourself. All right. Well, folks, that's going to bring us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word. Discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word. Just like it is right up there. And you're going to get a discount on us on your holster. This week, Secretary of State Marco Rubio was on, he went over to the Hill and he was testifying. And let's just say that he was eating some Congress members' lunches. Oh, wait, hold on. I just realized I didn't open this thing all the way up. And if I move over to the video right now, you're not going to get anything. So let me open it up. This is one of the challenges with doing stuff live, and you make a mistake and you're both in front of and behind the camera. You wind up having to fix it live.
Or anyway. You run Pornhub.
Oh, you run Pornhub. Here we go.
To tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job.
Well, that's just a flippant statement, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
That's a good point.
$14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with.
Beautiful.
All I can say is when the 2028 presidential election comes around, he is going to be formidable.
He is. Between him and JD Vance, it'll be interesting.
It will be. Sadly, I'll be honest, I think that Ron DeSantis would be a very good president. The sad part is that I just don't know that he has the chops to compete with he's just not as quick on his feet and as forceful. He's good governance. I just don't know that when it comes to the rhetorical end of campaigning, that he's got the chops. Hopefully, he's improving in that area.
Yeah, hopefully. And if he's in the race, we can look at hypothetically 3 really strong conservatives with really good records on a number of issues. And at least 2 of them are more than willing to slap down jackasses.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Anyway, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Good conversations. And I look forward to watching more of Marco Rubio beat up on the left. Now, as we talked about with the big, beautiful bill, it's not exactly what we would like to see when it comes to spending cuts. In fact, our friends over at the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust, reported it this way. Congress split between those who want to spend a ridiculous amount and those who want to spend an even more ridiculous amount.
That sums it up.
That pretty much sums it up. And by the way, needless to say, our friends in Congress, let's just say they are taking advantage of legislation that they have passed as well. Also being reported by the folks over at the Babylon Bee. No tax on tips passes Senate unanimously after clarification that bribes count as tips.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah,
That would explain unanimous.
That definitely explains how you pass unanimously.
I've never seen unanimous before, and yeah, I was like, rationally, I can explain it, but this makes a lot more sense.
This definitely makes a lot more sense. And then finally, the same people that call President Trump an idiot couldn't tell Joe Biden had dementia, and Kamala Harris couldn't speak a complete sentence.
Well, it wasn't that she couldn't speak a complete sentence. She was just unburdened what has been in the English language.
There you go. She was unburdened by what has been in the English language. That is so true. All right, folks. Well, hey, we're coming up here on the end of the program, but before we go, I got one last thing to do, and that is give another quick shout out to our sponsors. We've got Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase today. We've got the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out at cragop.org. And you can get your hog holsters at hogholsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. And then you can get all things tactical except the gun at uscombatgear.com. All right, sir, I want to thank you so much, Mr. Knighton, for joining us today. Let the audience know where they can follow your work.
Oh, well, let's see. There, you can find me at Bearing Arms, where I'm roughly half the stories. You can find me at Town Hall, where I'm doing some stuff. You can find me at my Substack, which is tomknighton.substack.com. And you can find me on the YouTubes at The Fourth Rail.
The Fourth Rail. Phenomenal. Sir, thank you so very much once again for joining us, and we'll look forward to having you back in the future.
Absolutely.
All right, folks.
True pleasure.
All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Throat Punch Thursday. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and we will see you mañana.